Now, as we continue to reflect on the ANC's 113th anniversary and the January 8th statement to be delivered today, we're joined in studio by political analyst Kenneth Mokgatlhe. Kenneth, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Usually, at the beginning of the year, I don't know about you, but I try to put in New Year's resolutions. I try, I really do. And they're not always about fitness, I promise you that much. I mean, the weight loss journey is a difficult one. But it's always about trying to find what's going to best work for me, whether it be in my career, whether it be in my life, how exactly I'm going to work on my finances better, etc. And if I fail, it's usually my fault, right? Yes. There's no one else to blame for that.
Yes.
Isn't this what this is meant to be? The January 8th statement, to, yes, reflect, but also to say this is what we aim to achieve. And if we haven't done so, it's our fault. And I only ask that question because it feels as though there's still so much pointing of fingers to other people for the ANC. Thoughts?
Good morning, Arabile, and to the viewers at home. Historically, the ANC used the January 8th statement to reflect on their struggle against apartheid and also to wage the roadmap ahead on the activities that could be carried out ahead of the year.
Yeah.
And then in the post-apartheid in 1994, then they continued with the tradition. They used the January 8th statement to forge a way forward on what the ANC could carry out or implement in the institutions of government. But this year is quite different because it happens when the ANC is out of power because they obtained less than 50% of the electoral, the electoral results in the last elections. So it's quite different. Hence, they also chose Western Cape because the stadium that they chose, the capacity also 22,000, it tells you that financially they were going to struggle to deliver people, as we know that they are always busing people to such venues. So if, for example, they had chosen FNB, which carries more than 90,000 people, it was going to be very difficult to fill that particular stadium. But also, again, I think from 2006, as Professor Ibrahim Harvey was stating, from 2006, when the DA won city of Cape Town, and then in 2009, ultimately they took control of the Western Cape province. The ANC never really made peace with that. So they still want to take control of city of Cape Town as well as many municipalities that are in the hands of the DA.
But if we say that they haven't made peace with that, what have they done in the last 15 odd years or so to try and get that back?
They have not done much. When you look in terms of the figures, for example, overall, nationally, you would say from 1994 until 2004, that was the only time when the ANC actually experienced electoral gains. And then from 2004, in 2009, when Jacob Zuma came in, their electoral performance declined. One would say that we would expect them to be where they are from the year 2009, because even in 2014, they continue to deteriorate until now, both the local and national elections. So I think they will continue losing elections. As for what have they done to try and arrest that situation, I don't think they are doing much. Let's look at the elections last year. They got 40% or so. But what are they doing to try and build the trust or restore the trust in the electorates in many parts of the country? They have not done much. I mean, they lost Northern Cape province. What are they doing to try and resuscitate hope in Northern Cape? They are not doing much. The municipalities are in a very bad state. Many of them cannot provide services that they are mandated to provide in the Constitution. They are failing to provide basic services to the people.
The saying is, however, be careful the wounded animal. And this might be the ANC wounded, and that we must be worried because by 2026 then they would have galvanized the troops, and this might be the beginning of that. Is that what you could see happening from this January 8th statement? They've gone back to basics, so to speak, cutting down on the number of people that are even attending the January 8th statement and the celebrations as a whole, how much money has been spent through it as well. And now bringing it to a venue where they're saying we have to come back to the people who we need to take back as the ANC. Do you feel that that perhaps says to them, we're the wounded animals, we're going back to basics, and be careful because we know how to fight back?
I think in this case, the animal is dangerous to itself. I think the only danger to the ANC is itself.
Yeah.
It is standing in between the potential to grow. And I'm saying that because they are now in government institutions. And instead of telling people to vote them, they have got an opportunity to showcase their potential by delivering on their mandate of better life for all.
Yeah.
But they are not doing that. They are there to pay lip service. They've been talking about the renewal, for example, since President Ramaphosa took over the reins. But have they really renewed the ANC? I don't think so. Because at the top of the leadership, you have got Gwede Mantashe. You also have got the Nomvula Mukwanyani in the top 6 or top 7, who are implicated in the state capture report. So it shows that they are not really committed to hawk the talk when it comes to the renewal of the ANC. You can't renew something when you have got the dirty linen who are inside or the closet inside the party.
So does the party then need a complete refresh? New leadership as a whole, and what I mean by that is ultimately people who weren't part of previous governments, who weren't part, because the problem also then becomes, in the same vein, you could lose institutional knowledge. You could lose some of the understanding of how to get things done.
I think there are a lot of people who have got capabilities within the ANC who are not necessarily corrupt or who have not been implicated in big scandals in the ANC. I think Ramaphosa was trusted to do the job and he failed dismally to get rid of this dirty linen that I'm talking about within the party, because he was really trying to unite the party, both those who are corrupt and those who are not corrupt. And
was he just not stern enough? Was he not strict enough to kind of say, we're getting rid of this, this is how we make sure that the party doesn't fall by the wayside, we're getting rid of all of those? I mean, we had the whole step away mandate, which then didn't take hold.
I think he was very selective. Coming to think of it, he got rid of those he did not like, those he knew that were a threat to him inside the party, the likes of Isma Khashule and others. But he protected those whom he know that he's going to be politically secured with them. The likes of, the former spokesperson of the ANC, 2 of them, nothing happened to them. There were no consequences of the corruptions that they were implicated in. So it shows you that he's very selective in his approach. Every time there are scandals that are implicating ANC members, ANC leaders, but there are no consequences that follows.
He wasn't an issue himself, right? So it doesn't necessarily help the situation either.
Exactly, the Pala issue. Yes, I'm saying that he needs to be politically protected by the likes of Gwede Mantashe, by Nomvula Mukwanyani, and many others who are in the party. So they went to the Western Cape. In the Western Cape, they are accusing the DA of neglecting the plight of the Coloureds community. But at the same time, they are not taking accountability or responsibility, because at one stage they were governing in many municipalities in the Western Cape, as well as the provincial government between 1999 and 2004.
But that's all changed now.
With Ibrahim Rasool in both. But they are in the national leadership, and they also govern other municipalities. Their own comrades are also ward councillors in those Coloureds communities and other black communities such as Khayelitsha.
Look, we don't have the cake that the ANC has been cutting over the last few days to give you. But I believe you're going to stay with us, right?
Yes.
So we'll try and give you water and we'll find something else. But we don't have the cake, unfortunately. But political analyst Kenneth Mokgatlhe is still with us here in studio for the morning as the ANC, of course, continues to celebrate that 113th anniversary out in Khayelitsha. Just to really give a clear sense of that conversation then as well, we are still joined in studio by political analyst Kenneth Mokgatlhe. Kenneth, just listening to that conversation then that Junior had with Mameloko Kubai, just evidence-based pronouncements, promises not kept. Is it all making sense to you as to what direction the ANC is looking to head into now?
It does not, because if they are really serious about renewing the ANC and gaining the ground, as she's saying, then the first thing is to acknowledge the shortfalls of the ANC, something that they have not done, that the ANC have not kept their promises since 1994, hence the decline in the electoral performance. That is evidence enough to show you the marginalization of the people and how desperate they have become. Now you have got the colored community, especially in the Western Cape, complaining that the ANC and the DA have both ignored their plight. And it's not only that particular community that is suffering the incompetence or ineptitude of the ANC. You have got black communities around the country who are also helpless about the political situation, the political and economic situation in the country. And the ANC seems not to have a plan to take out the people from abject poverty.
Then you have the situation with the SACP saying, well, listen, it's about time for us to kind of just go this election on our own. Not because the alliance is broken, but actually because we feel like if we're going to stand for what it is we truly believe in as a socialist party, as a communist party, then we need to do it on our own. Is that what you, does that make sense? That the alliance isn't broken, but the party wants to split up and ultimately go the election on its own, the local government elections?
It does not really make sense. It's the same story that we hear from Jacob Zuma, who claims to love and being the member of the ANC, but at the same time, he contests the party, he loves the party that is close to his heart. So it does not make sense because he's an opponent of the ANC, Jacob Zuma. So the SACP, when they are saying that they are willing or they are going to contest in the upcoming elections, it means that they are now rival to the ANC, so they can't be into any arrangement of alliance. So it does not really make sense. And also their pronouncement, it's not really genuine because you look, they've been around from 1994 when the ANC was in government. They have been part of government themselves, and these things have been happening in their watch, and they have not been saying anything. Their own comrades in the SACP have been deployed. They have benefited directly from the corruption that have been experienced in the country. So when they realize that the ship is sinking and the ANC won't make comeback, so they decide to take a different road, something that Jacob Zuma have also done, trying to cleanse or exonerate himself from the corruption of the ANC.
When one looks at the Titanic and that story of the Titanic, right? Yes. It was this massive, great ship that everybody thought was this great architect of future, right? And what the future really beheld. Then, unfortunately, as you begin to see that it's about to sink, people had to then jump off. And you had that case happen, whether it be with things like the UDM, whether it be with the case then of the EFF, of course, being one of the famous ones. You had parties like Ahang, of course, which is splinters from it. You've had so many parties splinter off. Are we headed for an iceberg here for the ANC? I mean, I'm not saying it's existential, but should we be worried for the future of the ANC?
We should be worried for the future of the ANC. Even the own members and leaders of the ANC are worried. So what you are talking about is political opportunism, those who are following and securing their own career in the political landscape in the country. So they can realize that the ANC is obsolete. It's in a state that it cannot be rescued by anyone, unfortunately, because those who are at the helm of its leadership, who are supposed to surrender and give others a chance, those who are reputable and ethical, they don't want to do that. And they're still at the helm of that leadership. And people are continuing to leave the party, and they will continue to leave the party. We will experience this or see the evidence in the upcoming local government election, where I think the ANC is going to lose massively in the rural provinces where it thinks that its support is very entrenched. I think people are going to surprise it.